Paterson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy President. Well, like many Australians, I spent a fair chunk of summer on the couch watching our Australian cricket team. And like any Australian, I was very proud to see our team perform so admirably, so well, so successfully against our rivals, England. And I had particular admiration for our captain, Steve Smith. He seemed to me to be an incredibly articulate, level-headed young man. Yes, a very ambitious young man and a very competitive young man, but someone who all Australians could have pride in. We all marvelled as his statistics got better and better throughout the summer as he came closer and closer, though no one ever will, to Bradman's Test batting average. So, like I think every Australian who's heard the news in the last 24 hours, the waking up yesterday morning to find out that the Australian cricket team and indeed our captain had been involved in what appears to be premeditated cheating was a very disappointing thing. And my overwhelming sense was a sense of sadness and disappointment. It goes without saying that we expect better from our sportsmen and women, and that when they have the honour of representing us, then they are not just there to win and to fight successfully and prevail on Australia's behalf, but to represent us with honour and to uphold our values, particularly on the international stage. Cheating in sport is bad, not just because it's disappointing to us, though, and because it's not consistent with our Australian values, but because cheating in sport undermines faith in the game. It's not much fun to watch a game where you know that the outcome is premeditated, where you know the players don't abide by the rules, where you know that you can't be sure that they're having a real contest. It's a pretty boring game to watch if that's the case. Now, obviously, the motion today is not just about sport. It's also about politics. And if cheating is bad in sport, then it's even more serious in politics. Because undermining faith in the game of politics is undermining faith in our democratic institutions. And undermining faith in our democratic institutions is a very dangerous thing to do. We often presume, I think, in this country that the prosperous, stable, harmonious liberal democracy that we enjoy is rock solid, that it is immune, that it could never regress. But the truth is that Australia, which is such a young nation, is also one of the nation's oldest democracies. And we are one of the world's oldest democracies because democracy is fragile. And so anything which undermines people's faith in our political system is toxic to that stability. And as other senators have pointed out in this debate already, we've had a very serious example of that in the recent years in my home state of Victoria, where the then opposition, led by Daniel Andrews, systematically rorted taxpayers' money for political gain. They cheated in an attempt to win an election. And as frustrating that it may be for me as a Liberal, because my side was on the losing end of that political contest, to know that the rules were being abused, that the game wasn't fair, that there was cheating, I'm much more profoundly disturbed as an Australian about what that does to our political institutions. Because if Australians form the view that political elections in this free country can be stolen, then no wonder they will be disillusioned completely by our election. I want to recognise some of the people who were the victims of that scheme to defraud taxpayers to cheat the election. People like Donna Bauer, the member for Carrum, who, unbeknownst to her, was not just competing against the Labor Party and any funds it could raise from its members in the union movement, but was also competing against taxpayers. The candidate she was up against and ultimately lost against, Sonia Kilkenny, was funded by Gavin Jennings, now laughably our Special Minister of State and responsible for administering the resources of MPs. There was Elizabeth Miller, the member for Bentley, who was campaigning not just against Nick Stakos but by taxpayer-funded campaigners. There was Lorraine Refford, the member for Mordialloc, who was campaigning not just against Tim Richardson but also taxpayer-funded political staff in breach of the rules, spending taxpayers' money in an attempt to steal an election, and we now know a successful attempt. So while we might throw around partisan points in this debate, and there are partisan points to be made, I think we all have a much greater and higher duty here, which is to preserve the system as we know it, which has served us very well. And if we continue to cheat in politics and sport, we will undermine both.
Thank you, Senator Paterson.